It is time for a special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and look who's next to me, the president of the Chillicothe Paints.
How are you, sir?
Wickline. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Haven't seen you this early in I don't know how long.
It's been a while.
He has a late job, so that keeps him up late at night. We'll explain why. Most of you already know. But we're going to talk about what the state of the paints is at this point in time and what the future might hold. Details are coming up, but first this from Classic Brands. Chillicothe Paints wrapped up the first half of the playoffs. Now you got to try and get into the second half.
Yeah, it's nice to first of all, it's always nice to clinch the first half because you know you're going to have the first home game in the playoffs. Yeah. So August 1st, we know for sure that first playoff game will be at V Memorial Stadium. We've been fortunate enough, as I said, to win the first, so it allows you to kind of, prepare for the playoffs. That gives you the second half to not stress about, we've got to, how many games are we up or back to get into the playoffs. So, we've been, I don't want to say cruise, but it's nice to be able to play some guys that maybe have not played a lot the first half, get them some reps, get them some innings for the pitchers, and just kind of, prepare and get ready for that August 1st date. Because that's when it's really game time.
And you closing in on the end of the first half, you found yourself doing the countdown on the magic number, which is a much better feeling than what are we going to do to make up?
Absolutely.
To chase it.
Especially when the team that's either in front of you or behind you don't play. Yeah. Because that was the issue with Lafayette that was behind us. And they were starting to creep up a little bit, and it was 3.5, now it's 2.5, now it's 2, and you don't have the opportunity to play them to get that, stretched out a little bit. So that made it a little tough there toward the end of last week, but everything worked out well, and I think they ended up losing the same day that we won. So whether we had won that game or not, we still would have been in. So, but we did win, and so it's always nice to try to win to get in instead of lose to get in. But, so we're probably going to have some new faces, too. We have the opportunity to maybe add a couple more pitchers for the second half and, give us some more rest on the pitching staff. So, we lead in almost every category in the hitting side of things. We've been very, runs scored. I think we've scored 10 runs or more in the last 18 to 30 games, something like that. So crazy numbers. Our offense is just crazy. Been hitting home runs left and right. I think we had 5 home runs the last home game. So, it's that side of it has made it nice to where you can breathe a little bit on the pitching side, but we've got to shore up our pitching a little bit going into the playoffs.
Talking offense, this is a wood bat league, so it gives these guys an opportunity to play with a wooden bat as opposed to what they do at the college level with the aluminum bats. They seem to have adjusted very well to this.
And it's usually not this quick. Absolutely. Yeah. It's usually not this quick. And we do have a lot of returners, so we had some guys that came back that have swung wood, but it usually takes, especially the freshmen and sophomores, a little bit more than what it has taken. I mean, we've been very fortunate to hit the way we've been hitting with wood bats. That's this as a developmental league. That's what this league is for college kids to be able to swing a wood bat and prepare for the next level professionally, whether that's A ball, independent ball, whatever, to get drafted. So. That's ultimately why we're here, and what we're here for is for those kids to get better. And but we've been very fortunate so far, knock on wood, that this is a wood table, that we continue it, keep it going.
You brought back a name recently, injury, opened up a roster spot for a kid by the name of Tim Orr. Mm-hmm. And seeing him come back, that had to be like putting a big injection into the team's offense.
And in the community. I mean, our fans were really excited about it. I know you know who Dave Weber is.
Yeah.
And Dave was excited to have him back. He's the host family of Tim. And when we found out about 2 weeks into the season that Tim might be available, I talked to Brian Menino. He had told me about it. And Bryan Wickline is the director of baseball operations for us, gets all of our players, newly inducted Ohio State Baseball Hall of Famer, is really the reason why we've won back-to-back championships, 3 out of the last 4. He's the architect that puts these guys together. And as you know, our head coaches have been in and out in the last 3 or 4 years with new guys. And, but the one steady person has been Brian. But, he called me and he said, "Hey, we got a chance of getting Orr," and he was excited. And I said, "Where are you going to put him?" He goes, "Dude, he can play wherever he wants to play." So I said, "That's good enough for me." So, and he really can. I mean, he's playing first base one game. He's playing left field, chasing down fly balls. I mean, the guy can just play. And I'm surprised we still have him because he could play independent baseball right now, pro ball. So we're just fortunate to have him as long as we can keep him and maybe get another ring with him.
And with him and what his future might be, you take a look at the Prospect League, a number of your guys made it to the major league level this year. I may not be speaking Paints specific, but Prospect League specific. That's been pretty cool. You see the guys get drafted, and then 3 or 4 years later, you see them make the big club.
No, and the longer this league exists, the more and more that's going to happen. And so we're very fortunate to have some talent on our end, Chillicothe, to be able to do that. And Artia Disla, he's still with the Rangers. I believe he's at AA now. So it's just a process of this league has very, very good players, very good players. Whether you're Division I, you're NAIA, or a JUCO kid, I mean, you're the best of that school. And, we're very fortunate to get a lot of those kids. Now there's a lot of LSUs and Alabamas and North Carolinas and going to other teams, mostly in the West for whatever reason in the West side. But Danville comes to mind where they get a lot of LSU kids. But, year in, year out, we've been fortunate to have the Denison kids, Division 2s and Division 3s that are going up there right up against them and winning. So, we have a process of how we find our guys, and it's worked for us.
You go back to around 94, 95?
94 was my first year. This is my 31st year.
And the Paints, of course, started in 1993. We look back on those days. Chance Melvin, if I remember correctly, was the first to be brought to a major league franchise. So that was 1993. I mean, he played I think the first 4 weeks, and then suddenly he's called up and an opportunity to go play. We saw that start happening when the Paints were a
Frontier League.
The Frontier League professional. These guys were being paid
Brian
to
Tolberg.
play. Yes. Brian Tolberg, of course, he is the top of the echelon. The kid who ended up playing with the Giants in the program, played third base.
Mike
Cervenak.
Yeah, Mike Cervenak.
He, of course, has a World Series ring from when the Giants made the series. So it's been really cool to see the transition from the Frontier League days into the Prospect League. You've been in that league now for how many years?
Well, 09 was our first year, so 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
Almost as long as we were in the Frontier League now.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It actually is.
And it has been a good decision business-wise.
100%. I tell people all the time, we're very fortunate we're still one of the smallest markets, if not the smallest markets in the league, in the Prospect League. We were way the smallest in the Frontier League. And if somebody was to start baseball, let's say you go to the Prospect League commissioner and say you want to start a franchise in XYZ, I want to buy a franchise, it's X amount of dollars. Chillicothe, Ohio is probably not where you're going. And so we're very fortunate to still have baseball here, and it's only because of our fans and sponsors, 100% the reason why we're still here. We have a 99% renewal rate on our sponsors, and our fans are still coming out at 1,900 people a night.
That puts you in what, the top three?
Yeah, it's usually in the top three. You know, we kind of dropped off down below just because now we have a couple of affiliated teams that came from affiliated ball to our league, Clinton, Iowa being one of them, that draw about 2,300 or 2,400. But that's a much bigger market. But so yeah, we still hang in there and we're still doing well, and we're just very fortunate to still be in Ross County, to be honest with you. And everybody that touches Ross County still comes out, and 31 years later, we're still here.
We were talking before we came on the air about some of the guys who used to play for the Paints, and when the league started, Frontier League back in 1993, part of it was you had to have two area kids on the team. One was Mike Strasbaugh, the other was Aaron Crabtree. And now you've had recently Cruz McFadden. Now you've got
Brock
Blanton, and it was really cool to get a chance to see him play. I assume that those guys aren't participating in the host family portion. Is Bobby and Dave still the?
Yeah, they can stay home. Every once in a while that works out, so we don't have to have so many host families that we got kids that are local. But
it's neat to have them.
It is.
Play right
I
there.
mean, we always try to do that. Yeah. But I also say, in the same hand, you've got to be able to play. You've got to be able to pitch, or you've got to be able to hit. I mean, this is not an easy league to play in, and with all due respect to the high school leagues around here, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to play in this league and be successful. So you've got to be really at a high level to make it and then perform. Brock had a really nice outing that night he came in, and he was introduced not from his Eastern Kentucky University, but he was introduced as Paint Valley, and the crowd went pretty nuts. But but we want that to happen. It's just rare because you've got to be really, really good.
Yeah. And, of course, in Brock's situation, he had the broken leg in a game against the University of Tennessee, which won the College World Series and the national championship. But he makes his debut in his return with the Chillicothe Paints at home.
He threw well.
Cinderella story.
Yeah, he threw well.
Yeah, that's great. You talked about Brian Menino's importance to putting this team together. But I go back to when Roger Hanners was here and Dr. Hanners, Chris, with what they were doing. They looked for a particular athlete that not only was a good baseball player, but was a decent kid with character. And I think that has carried over throughout the years.
That part of it is probably more important than anything, is the character and the type of player, type of person that we want in the clubhouse. I can only count maybe on one hand the issues we've had over 30 years with players. I mean, we've been very fortunate, and Menino makes sure of that. He makes sure that because he has such a good relationship with the college coaches at this point, that they know they're not going to send a guy that's a borderline. You might have trouble, you might not have. Most of these kids are not of age to drink yet, so we aren't given guys that are borderline guys. We are given good guys that are good leaders and number one, want to compete and win. But at the end of the day, we're good people, and we want to make sure that we treat Chillicothe just like we would treat, our hometown or our home school. And Brian does a really, really, really good job of that.
And I'm not saying that any of the other Prospect League
you're right.
Franchises are any different, but Menino's got a long enough history. I mean, he played here, and he knows what Chillicothe is all about. And when you know that, you find the right guys.
And there's been times where we've had head coaches that may not know the Paints way. That's kind of what we say. It's the Paints way, and there's ways to play the game and not to play the game, where he'll call me or text me and go, dude, I apologize for that tonight. That's not how we play, or that's not how we do things. I'll straighten that out quickly. And we do, and we just move on. But we're very well respected in the league. We don't try to embarrass people. We are very thankful when we're on the road for food and drinks and whatever we can get on the road. And, so we just try to stay classy and play baseball the right way.
You mentioned how you've gone through field managers in recent years. Here comes White. He gets you into the playoffs, comes back the next year, wins the whole deal. You have a fella come in for 1 year. He wins the whole deal. You got a former Paints player who's now your field skipper, and he's got him in first place.
It's almost like roll the ball out. I'm going to go coach the Paints. But again, that's just Bryan Menino. I mean, that's Bryan Menino putting together the pieces of here's your roster, don't screw it up. And that's kind of how it's been. But it is tricky when you got 36 guys, you can only put 9 on the field. Yeah. So, the tricky part of this whole thing is to get guys, reps and keep them engaged and want to still be here. And, hey, am I getting better? Or should I just go home and take the rest of the summer off and go spend it with my girlfriend before I go back to school or whatever? So there is a part of this managing part that you've got to manage personalities and you've got to manage time. And that's not an easy thing to do either.
Back to the attendance figures. I remember during the Frontier League days, as the Frontier League began to grow, new facilities were coming in and larger communities were coming in. So everyone loved coming to Chillicothe because of the nostalgic style of VA Memorial Stadium. The whole atmosphere was really awesome. But then you would go to some place like Ohio Valley, the Redcoats, so to speak, might have 150 players or people there to watch. Then you come to Chillicothe, there's 1,700 people. You're still seeing in the Prospect League, there are some franchises that are drawing around 300 a night.
There is.
That's got to be a neat for those guys to come here and play a game, but still there are those larger attendees that even our Paints players go and say, man, we're playing in front of 5,000 guys.
We have other teams' players tell our guys, man, I wish I could play in Chillicothe. Yeah. I wish I could play in front of that crowd. If the weather holds off tonight with fireworks, we'll have 3,000 people there tonight. Lafayette draws well. We play Lafayette tonight. They have a brand new stadium and it's beautiful, and they draw pretty well. But we do get those times where they're thankful, and our league has a year-end survey for players, kind of an exit thing. Hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? What's your best part of your summer? What would you think we need to improve on, and things like that we ask some of the players. And it's anonymous, and they can say what they want to say. And there's a lot of them that say, my best time was playing in front of Chillicothe, playing at the Paints. So, and then our guys are very thankful for our host families and the way that we get treated here. So, again, we've been doing it a long time. I'm not saying we're better than everybody else. We just been doing it longer than everybody else.
Yeah. But it's been a consistent story for those 31 years.
And there's only been a couple, 3 that are still left in those 30-some years, and we try to pass that along to the next employer, the next new employee, or the next guy that's kind of in charge of things. But yeah, we just been doing it longer than most people, and we try to do it the right way. And if we can't do it the right way, we just don't do it.
I have 2 more things I want to ask you about.
Okay.
First thing is you've had the Boys County Bombers in town, and they had a player that stood out on their team. And the reason for that is because she is the first female player in the Prospect League.
Yep, first female, first Division I. She played at Brown University, and she was a fan favorite when she was here. She played right field. I want to say 2 out of the 3 games they were here. She had a crowd after the game waiting on her outside their dugout. Little young females, adult females, waiting to meet her, shake her hand, get an autograph. I saw online somebody brought some baseball cards that they had found of her and had her autograph. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's definitely the Prospect League coming out and, signing somebody for the first time as a female. And she played pretty well.
And it's rather unique because it draws fan interest of a different way. I remember my two oldest nieces, they wanted to come to see a Paints game because they fell in love with some of the players. Mm-hmm. Well, here you've got those girls wanting to come see, hey, if she can do it, maybe I can do it.
Absolutely. The girls that I saw were softball players that were talking to her, and gives you something to look up to. And it's to be able to meet those kind of people with that young of age. It's, I would assume, pretty incredible. And she was very hospitable and stayed and signed. And she was the last one in the clubhouse because everybody was waiting on her because she was still outside. And so it was. I'm sure that's not just in Chillicothe. I'm sure everywhere they go to play.
You've got a doubleheader tonight, and of course, gates will open up for that first game at
4:05. Doubleheaders at 5:05 tonight. Weather permitting, we have fireworks tonight, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And if anything changes, we'll make sure everybody knows on social media and our website as best we can. But Red, White, and Boom is tonight. I know that I was watching the Columbus weather stations, and they're a little concerned maybe till 10 o'clock. So we'll see. I mean, we're just going to we can't control the weather. So we're just going to keep an eye on things as we go through the afternoon. And if any changes occur, we'll make sure everybody knows.
Finally, in talking with Ed Kunzelman, I asked him one day, I said, when are you going to get this building finished downtown? And he says, if you've asked me that once, and if I had a nickel for everybody who's asked me that question, the question is for you, Bryan Wickline, when are you going to get that stadium? I know that's been something that people are probably asking you all the time.
If I had $20 million check I could write, we'd have it tomorrow. That's what it comes down to. We do have some land identified. That's not the holdup. The holdup is we need some help financially to be able to get it done. And so we're still working on that. We were thankful enough and lucky enough to receive a $500,000 grant from the state. Mark Johnson and Shane Wilkin helped us get some money for the turf because no matter what happens, the VA needed new turf. Yeah. And so it's 18 years old and it's unsafe. And so this fall we're going to be installing new turf out at the VA. And we're just going to continue to work and try to – we've outgrown it. I've said it. I know there are people that love the VA, and rightfully so. There's a lot of history there. But for us to continue to grow and be here for the next 30 years, we have to have a new stadium. There's just no ands, ifs, or buts about it. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's reality. I live it every day. Like I said, there are people that don't think that that's true, but I'm the one that has to see that every day. Mm-hmm. And for us to continue to be here, we have to have a new stadium. So that being said, we're going to work on it. Is it a 5-year plan? Maybe a little shorter than that, but we're going to continue in the off season to keep working toward that and ask, for everybody's patience, and we'll just see what happens.
In the meantime, I know that you've discussed with me off the air about you would keep both stadiums going.
Yeah. No, we're not ever going to leave the VA permanently.
I think that's probably one of the big concerns.
It's not going to go the weeds aren't going to grow and be 10 feet tall and no one's taking care of it. That's not going to ever happen.
It's not going to be the old Cooper Stadium.
No, not even close. And that's probably a good comparison of what has happened in the past. That will never happen. We will continue to operate it. We will continue to maintain it. The VA hospital is very good partners with us, and we have committed to that for multiple years. Much longer than I'm going to be here. And so, we will continue to run it, baseball, softball, whatever we need to run out of it with tournaments and Chillicothe Capitals, all the different Legion teams that use it. It just wouldn't be the home of the Paints, but it will still continue to be a baseball facility that is being operated year round.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we started, he says, how long are we going to talk? And I said, well, we used to be a broadcast team for the Cavaliers, and we could fill 3.5 hours here, but we're not going to do that.
It's always
we have other shows to do.
No, it's always a pleasure. I love you, and I appreciate everything you do for us. And you do a lot behind the scenes that people don't know about for 31 years, and I appreciate your friendship.
Same here, buddy. Family. Chillicothe Paints tonight, Lafayette Aviators in town. So if you want to get out to the ballpark, go out. And I think you'll probably have a lot more people sitting in the grandstand tonight if you have the weather.
A little undercover.
Thanks for watching this edition of Litter Media Live.